Hi everyone, good day, this is Dr. Von, and this will be the continuation of our discussion of our blood gases, pH, and the buffer system. But this time, we will be discussing about your laboratory application naman, and then we will also be talking about your ABG interpretation. I know you already had a synchronous activity with your ABG interpretation, so we'll just have to review again those important concepts as well as the tips and advices for you to easily understand your ABG interpretation. But first, let's discuss about your laboratory application. So in terms of the specimen collection, we have an appropriate collection method for our ABG sample. You can use your heparinized plastic syringe. This is your heparinized plastic syringe. Ito yung usually na nakikita natin sa hospital. So usually a 1cc syringe, usually dapat mga 2 ml or less na syringe. So ito yung pinaka-common natin na nakikita, and this is actually pre-treated with your heparin. You have to flush this syringe with 0.5 ml of heparin. So dapat lalagyan mo muna ng heparin ng 0.5, tapos you try to flush the entire syringe up to the tip, and then you expel the excess. Pero usually wala na namang ma-expel kasi 0.5 ml naman yun, tapos mafa-flush mo man yung entire area dito. So push and pull ka lang ng syringe. However, there is a disadvantage of using this plastic syringe. Kasi number one, excess heparin causes a downward shifting of the blood pH. That's why you have to be very careful on the amount of your heparin na nilalagay natin sa ating syringe. Dapat pang flushing lang talaga. And also, there is a leaking of gas through the plastic. So of course, if there is leaking of gases, then therefore, it will lead to an erroneous result of your ABG. So again, when you're talking about ABG, our anticoagulant na ginagamit natin is basically your heparin. And then, glass syringe pre-treated with heparin. Same pa rin, pre-treated with heparin. However, hindi pa ako nakakita nito, but this gonna be very expensive, unlike your disposable na mga syringes. Next, we have also your heparinized evacuated tubes. So, of course, ito, heparinized evacuated tubes, no? Na yung green tubes natin. However, hindi ako nakakita na dito kami kumukolekta ng sample for your ABG. It's really on your 1cc na syringe. Kasi ang problem dito is that it can lead to increased PO2, possible oxygen contamination. So, for me, ang mas preferred talaga, kasi in terms of easy usage, availability, and resources, it's really your heparinized plastic syringe. But you have to be you have to have a precautionary measures of these following disadvantages. But the question is, sino ba talaga ang kumokolekt ng ABG sample natin? Arterial blood sample, sino ang kumokolekt? Medtech ba talaga? Doctors? Or your RT? Actually, no. During my time, di ba, 2013 ako graduate. At my time, parang wala pa kasi yung RT. I mean, I'm not sure parang the RT is just a very new profession. Di ba, bago lang na sila mga board exam. And as far as I know, So, at that time, in working in a hospital also, parang wala pa ko nakita ng mga RT sa among time. But right now, di ba, very, very common na and sikat na kayo mga RT because the different hospital, meron talagang RT department, respiratory department. However, sa aming time kasi parang wala pang iyan na department. So, ang nangyayari is that usually, ang nagko-collect ng specimen sample is really the physician because the physician are trained to do so. Remember, arterial blood gas. So, therefore, your sample must comes from your artery. Sa artery, talaga tayo tutusok, and there will be a training for that. And of course, as medical technologies, we are not trained to do arterial collection. Again, as medtechs, we are not trained to do so. However, if nag-undergo ka ng training, why not? Kasi nung nag-intern ako sa isang hospital sa Iloilo, ang usual na nagkumukuha naman ng ABG sa kanila are medtechs. Pero those medtechs are actually trained. Pero meron din silang RT department. Yun din sila yung, or respiratory unit, sila yun yung kumukuha ng sample as long as you are trained. But in terms of collecting blood samples lang, no, for example, hindi siya for heparin, for CBC, for for clean chem, of course, I must say, you should not collect the sample coming from the arteries. Again, because your machines is sensitive for that. Ang usually sa mga machines kasi, dinidetect niya is yung venous blood, not your arterial blood. Of course, there might be a few differences lang in terms of the result, but then again, we are not trained to collect your arterial blood sample. So it's either your RT or the physician must collect the sample. Again, we are not trained to do arterial collection. You know, usually it's a very different technique, no? Usually, di ba, pag venipuncture, pero makonti lang ang angle. Pag arterial puncture, usually, tinataas namin. It's not totally 90 degrees, no? Sometimes, nasa 45 and above. Depende sa location. And then, you have to really check. And then, pag pull mo lang ng syringe, usually, ang sobrang bilis lang talaga. You have to really determine nga, it's really arterial blood. And it's really bright red. It's easy to pag-check mo, bright red, di siya arterial, gini siya. It's really difficult. Sometimes, depende kasi sa location kung saan ka nagko-collect, no? Kung usually, kung dehydrated ang patients, medyo mahirap din mag-collect ng arterial blood sample. So again, it's not us that will collect the sample. It should be the trained RT or your physician, or if you are trained to do it by your hospital, depende kasi sa mga protocol sa hospital, then you are allowed to collect the sample. But kung sino na naman ang nagpa-process nito, it could be pwede ding medical technologies. At may time na nung medtech ako, kami ang doctors ang kumukuha, pero kami yung nagpa-process ng sample. Of course, now meron naman tayong mga respiratory therapists, no? So usually mayroong sarili nilang ang mga machines for reading those samples. So, meron din sila yun. So, depende talaga yan sa hospital protocol. Okay? Let's talk about your specimen handling and storage. So, blood sample should be chilled with the use of ice chips because this will prevent your O2 consumption by your RBCs and the release of acidic. But usually, no, pag ito nagta-time sa amin usually sa emergency room when I was an intern sa SPMC. Pag ito talaga agad-agad kami kukuha ng sample and kami na din yung nagsasubmit ng sample patungo sa respiratory department kasi sila yung nagte-test sa SPMC. So we have to wait the result agad-agad. So most of the time wala na talaga itong chilled na use of ice chips. As long as masubmit to as soon as possible, preferably with use of your ice chip. So, hindi na namin binibigay sa mga watcher kasi most of the time nagugulan sila kung saan nila idadala or what. Or may times na hindi pa nila may bigay doon sa RT. So, therefore, magiging erroneous na yung result. So, kami talaga nagdadala nun eh. Next, these are the sources of error, no? Specimen exposed to air. There will be a decrease in your PCO2. Again, decrease ang PCO2. Nawawalan yung acidity niya. Kaya tumataas yung pH and increase yung oxygen because it is exposed to air. Next, specimen RT of more than 30 minutes. Pag hindi na-submit agad-agad. Kaya nga, kami na nagsasubmit. There will be decreased level of your PO2 and decrease of your pH and increase your PCO2. Parang kabaliktaran lang yun sa ating exposed to air. Okay? So we have also your instrumentation. We have your arterial blood gas analyzer. So let's talk about instrumentation, no? Kung paano ba na-detect yung mga PO2, PCO2, and your pH. So it uses your 3 electrodes as a sensing device to measure now your partial pressure of oxygen as well as the partial pressure of your carbon dioxide and your pH value. In terms of the measurement of your partial pressure of your oxygen, it uses the principle of your amperometric. Pag amperometric, you are talking about the amount of current flow. Pag ampero, current, mo gina imong ginapangita. The amount of current flow, an indication of the oxygen is actually present. So in short, measurement of the electric current flowing under an applied and potential difference between 2 electrodes in a solution. Then, ang tawag sa electrode nito is your Clark electrode. Then, in terms of your PCO2 and pH, it uses now your potentiometric principle. So, pag sinabi natin potentiometric principle, you're talking about the change in the volume. So, kung ang amperometric, amount of current flow, ang potentiometric, you're referring to the change in your voltage. So it indicates the activity of your each analyte. So ang tawag naman sa electrode natin dito is your severing house electrode. Okay? Tingnan natin. So this is now the basic diagram of your principle para sa ating PO2 determination. Ano nga yung PO2 determination? Using your amperometric current flow ang ating hinahanap. Sige. So an oxygen permeable membrane. So ito, oxygen permeable membrane covers the tip of your electrode to selectively allow O2 to diffuse into the electrolyte solution. So this is gonna be your electrolyte solution. So meron tayong membrane para ang i-allow niya lang makapasok sa membrane nito is your oxygen and it will diffuse in your electrolyte solution. Then a small constant polarizing potential is applied between your anode and cathode. So between your anode and cathode, ito yung anode natin, your silver chloride reference electrode, and your cathode, your platinum wire. So again, meron tayong dinagdag na polarizing potential between your anode and your cathode. So therefore, as a result, the electrons are drawn from the anode. So again, the electrons are drawn into anode patungo sa ating cathode. Then the oxygen diffuses from the sample path towards now your cathode. Then the current produced in this circuit is now proportional to the amount of your oxygen reduced at the cathode. So therefore, anong hinahanap natin? It's really the amount of your current. So again, amperometric amount of current flow. Okay, very good. How about PCO2 and pH? Again, potentiometric. We are talking about your voltage. Sige, tingnan natin. This is now your PCO2 electrode system, amperometric, yung ating principle. Ano naman nangyayari dito, Doc Von? Your PCO2 is determined with a modified pH electrode called your severing house electrode. And then, an outer semi-permeable membrane, ito yung outer semi-permeable membrane that allows your carbon dioxide to diffuse into your layer of electrolyte. So dito siya magdi-diffuse again sa ating layer ng electrolyte. And then, a bicarbonate buffer covers the class of your pH electrode. Saan ang ating pH electrode dito? So ito mga electrode natin dito. Ano nagka-cover nito sa ating pH electrode? It's actually your bicarbonate buffer. And then, the CO2 that diffuses, yung carbon dioxide na magdi-diffuse across the membrane will react with your buffer. So magre-react siya sa ating buffer and then it will now form your carbonic acid which then dissociate into bicarbonate plus your hydrogen. So ito na yung bicarbonate plus your hydrogen. So the change in the activity of your hydrogen is measured by the pH and electrode and is related to your PCO2. So that's how you're able to get the value of your PCO2. So again, you're talking about the change in the activity of your hydrogen ion. And lastly, the pH electrode system, diba? Same yung pH natin. So i-review natin ha. Same naman yung PCO2 and pH, no? Potentiometric and change in volume, voltage pa rin. Dito naman, to measure the pH, a glass membrane sensitive to hydrogen, ito, glass membrane sensitive to hydrogen is placed around an internal silver chloride. So ito yung internal natin na silver chloride to form now your measuring electrode. So this is gonna be your measuring electrode. And then the reference electrode, commonly your calomel or your silver chloride electrode, it provides now a steady reference voltage against which voltage changes from the measuring electrode are compared. So basically, it's a reference or a comparison to your measuring electrodes. Again, the same pa rin, dito magfo-flow until such time that you will be able to change, to detect any changes of your voltage, and then it's a time that you will be able to detect your pH. Actually, same lang pa rin dito. Same lang na ating PCO2. Okay? So these are the different reference electrodes that we discussed a while ago. yung calomel electrode natin, your mercury chloride, your silver chloride, which is overall better and faster, and your normal hydrogen electrode. Okay? So, ito yung ginagamit namin sa aming hospital, di ba? Ito yun, yung nagra-rounds kami. Ay, actually, nagra-rounds. Yung binibigay na yung sample ng ABG namin. Dito namin, tinitest yung, yung sample. So, again, anong ginagawa namin dito? Meron siyang meron siyang cartridge. Ito yun, oh. Parang ganito siya size, tapos ipapasok mo lang dito. Tapos, yung cartridge na yan, tapos lalagyan mo lang ng parang few drops galing sa syringe. Tapos ipapasok mo dito, and then it will now give you the result of your ABG. Lahat yung pH, PCO2, PO2. Ganyan lang. As very simple as that in less than a minute. And then pag may result na dyan, may pipindutin lang kami dito, tapos lalabas na yung print, magpa-print na siya ng paper. Ito na yung result namin. Okay? You know what? This is very expensive. Sa sobrang liit nito, nasa drawer lang to namin, it costs million pesos. I'm not sure kung ilang million, basta this is really a million pesos. Kaya nga, pag magra-rounds kasi, no, kasi maraming uses ito, hindi lang ABG, it can also detect your electrolytes. So, pag magra-rounds kami, ito na dinadala namin, tapos nilalagay namin yung cartridge para ma-detect na yung mga electrolytes dito automatically. Pero yung makulbaan yung naggunit-gunit anak eh, magkurog-kurog. Diyos ko Lord, million. Milyonaryo dyan sa laboratory. No? Very expensive ang mga devices natin, no? Okay. Now, let's proceed with our ABG interpretation. Again, it's very simple na lang, no? Kay you already had your synchronous activity. So, our task here is somehow to give you tips and parang paulit-ulitin na lang natin yung mga concepts na dapat nating malaman. Okay? So again, as I said to you, importanteng memorize natin ng mga normal values. Your pH, dapat ngayon memorize na 7.35 to 7.45. PCO2, 35 to 45. Bicarbonate, 22 to 26. And your PO2, 80 to 110. So remember those values. Yung apat lang talaga, okay? So how do we interpret our ABG? Of course, we have very simple steps lang. We have 6 steps. First, check muna yung pH result. Step 2, i-check natin yung result sa ating bicarbonate and your PCO2. So step 3, i-determine natin yung primary and your compensating disorder galing sa ating step 2. And then, we check the degree of compensation, check again our pH, and then check oxygenation based sa ating PO2, and lastly, our final interpretation. Sige, let's have a review. Step 1, evaluate the pH. So, basic lang. pH natin less than 7.35, that's acidosis. Pag more than 7.45, that's alkalosis, right? If ever hindi given yung pH, then we could calculate our pH using your Henderson-Hasselbalch equation. So, ang formula natin, pH is equal to pK plus your logarithm of the concentration of your bicarbonate over 0.0307 times PCO2. So, ang kakailanganin lang natin is the value of your bicarbonate and the value of your PCO2. We all know that the pK is constant, which is 6.1. So, as simple as that. However, if ang value, sige, example muna tayo. Ayan. Yan. In a healthy individual, bicarbonate is around 24. Your PCO2 is 40. Sige. Alam natin yung pK natin is 6.1. Alam natin yung bicarbonate natin is 24 over 0.0307 times yung PCO2 is 40. So, you compute that and you will get 7.35. And this is a normal pH value. Okay? How about if DCO2 ang given or your diffuse carbon dioxide? Of course, simple lang. If hindi given yung PCO2, ang kailangan lang natin is that instead of using, di ba, meron pa tayong 0.0307 times PCO2, automatically, ilalagay na lang natin yung DCO2. So, this denominator here is actually your DCO2 or your diffuse carbon dioxide. So, again, that's your diffuse carbon dioxide. So, step 2. Tapos na tayo sa step 1, no? Determine the pH or you can calculate the pH. next step, evaluate the ventilation of the lungs. So, paano natin ma-evaluate yung ventilation ng ating lungs? You check the PCO2 level. Normal level is 35 to 45. Pag less than 35, of course, we all know that's respiratory alkalosis. Pag mataas ang level ng PCO2 natin, more than 45, that's gonna be your respiratory acidosis. So step 2 pa rin is that you are going to evaluate the metabolic processes ng ating kidneys. So that's gonna be your bicarbonate. The normal value is 22 to 26. Pag mababa sa 22, that's gonna be metabolic acidosis. Pag mataas sa 26, that's gonna be your metabolic alkalosis. Sa step 3 naman, you have to determine which is the primary and compensating disorder. So again, step 1, determine muna yung pH. Yung step 2, i-evaluate natin yung levels ng ating PCO2 and your bicarbonate. And sa step 3, based sa step 2, di ba, may dalawa tayong result na makukuha. Kikilalanin natin kung sino ang primary and sino yung compensating disorder. Again, to assess whether primary problem is respiratory or metabolic in origin, you compare the changes of your bicarbonate and PCO2 from the baseline. If the change in bicarbonate from the baseline is larger, then the problem is primarily metabolic and vice versa. So very basic lang, no? Check lang yung pH natin sa ating sample, and then if the change in the bicarbonate or carbon dioxide, malalaman natin dito kung anong primary disturbance. There's a correction, guys, ha? This is not respiratory acidosis kasi ang pH natin is 7.4, right? This should be respiratory alkalosis. Again, this is metabolic acidosis, respiratory acidosis, metabolic alkalosis, and this is respiratory alkalosis. Sige, check natin. We will have a sample later. Step 4, determine the degree of compensation. Very basic lang. Paano natin malalaman ang degree of compensation? Check your pH. Kung ano ang pH natin? If it's non-compensatory, partial compensation, or complete compensation. Pag complete compensation, meaning implies that the pH has returned to the normal range. Meaning, nasa normal level yung ating pH. That's your complete compensation. However, whether it is acidotic or alkalosis, pag nandito na range, 7.31 to 7.34, or alkalosis, 7.46 to 7.49, that's gonna be partial compensation. But, if ever wala siya sa range na to or hindi siya normal, then that's automatically non-compensatory. Meaning, if it's 7.30 and below, or nasa range ng 7.49 and above, that's gonna be non-compensatory. Again, non-compensatory pag 7.32, 7.30 below, or 7.50 above. That's non-compensatory. Pag partial, within this range. Complete compensation, meaning normal talaga yung pH. Partial, it implies that the pH is actually approaching normal. Complete, it implies that the pH has returned to your normal range. Step 5, evaluate the degree of oxygenation. Paano natin may evaluate? Check the PO2 level. If it's 80 to 110, that's adequate oxygenation. But if within this range, you will be able to identify whether mild, moderate, or severe hypoxemia. And our final step is final interpretation. So, ang final interpretation natin will be based on the degree of compensation, whether fully compensated, non-compensated, or partially compensated, primary disorder, kung ano yung main disorder or problems ng ating patient, and the degree of oxygenation, if there is adequate oxygenation, mild, moderate, or severe hypoxemia. Okay? We will have an example. But before that, no, I have a strategy pala dito. Diba, yung primary natin and compensating disorder, you check your pH and then you compute, diba, may computation tayo dito. But I have a very simple tip here. For you to determine kung sino yung primary and compensating disorder, you check first the step 1. Ano nga yung step 1 natin? Yung step 1 natin is that we have to check kung ano yung patient natin, alkalosis or acidosis. Pag normal pH, mahihirapan tayo sa tips na to. Pag it's either acidosis or alkalosis, madali na lang. Kasi nga, anong mangyayari? Remember, pH, pag sa step 1, di ba, dapat ma-determine natin acidosis or alkalosis siya. Sa step 2, we have to evaluate, di ba, may dalawa tayong problem na makikita later on, whether it's a metabolic alkalosis or acidosis, etc. Kung sino yung the same sa ating step 1, sa ating step 2, that's gonna be your primary disorder. Sige, papakita ko later, okay? For example, pag acidosis yung ating step 1, therefore, our primary problem must be an acidosis. And the compensating disorder is yung natira sa ating step 2. Sige, papakita natin later. Sige, ito na yung sample case natin. Actually, nakita nyo rin to, okay? So again, 20 male with diarrhea of greater than 5 times per day. Interpret your ABG result. Ito yung ating result, no? pH of 7.32, PCO2 of 28, bicarbonate of 14, and your PO2 value of 78%. So again, balik tayo ha. Ulit-ulitin natin. Step 1, evaluate ng pH. Anong pH ng ating patient? pH ng ating patient is 7.32. So therefore, 7.32 siya, less than 7.35. Therefore, it is acidosis. So as simple as that. Step 2, evaluate the ventilation. Check the PCO2 of our patient. Ang PCO2 ng ating patient is 28. So therefore, below 35, less than 35, that's gonna be respiratory alkalosis. Step 2 pa rin, evaluate the metabolic process. Ano yung bicarbonate level sa ating patient? It's gonna be 14. Yung 14 is less than, pag less than 22, that's gonna be metabolic acidosis. So therefore, again, na-identify na natin, no, yung dalawang main problem sa step 2. Sa patient natin, may respiratory alkalosis and may metabolic acidosis, right? Again, sa step 2, na-identify natin na merong respiratory alkalosis and merong metabolic acidosis based on the value of your bicarbonate and your PCO2. Now, the question is, sa step 2 na to, sino kaya ang primary problem? Pag sinabi natin primary problem, sino kaya ang nagkukos ng problem sa ating patient? So, malalaman natin yan through our step 3. Sa step 3 natin, determine which is the primary and compensating disorder based sa ating step 2. Again, check the pH. Ang pH sa ating patient is 7.32. So, dito tayo, 7.4. So, it's either here yung ating primary disturbance. It could be a metabolic acidosis and respiratory acidosis. So, i-check natin to. A change in your bicarbonate is greater than a change in your carbon dioxide, or whether there is a change in your carbon dioxide is greater than a change in your bicarbonate. So, how do we check this? Simple lang. In this case, the change in your bicarbonate is greater than the PCO2. Change in your bicarbonate is greater than your carbon dioxide or your PCO2. Therefore, the acidosis is metabolic in origin. So, therefore, the primary problem is metabolic acidosis. Paano natin nalaman, Dok? Paano natin ma-determine na mas mataas yung change ng bicarbonate sa ating CO2? The basis here is that the change in your bicarbonate, meron tayong formula, is equal to 24 minus 14 over 24. Yung 24 dito is the normal value of your bicarbonate level. And then yung 14 dito is the given bicarbonate value sa ating case. So yung bicarbonate, di ba, sa patient natin is 14. So simple lang. The normal value ng ating bicarbonate is 24. I-minus natin sa value ng ating patient which is 14. Then i-divide naman natin sa 24. And you will get 0.42. As simple as that. So kayang 24 og 24 dira normal, constant value na siya. Kaya mo man ang normal value. All you have to do is put the 14 which is the value sa ating patient. Then the change in your PCO2 is equal to 40 minus 28 over 40. Note, yung 40 natin dito is the normal PCO2 level, 40. And then yung 28 dyan is the given value. So technically, constant na yung 40, isa-subtract mo lang yung sa 28 which is the PCO2 of our patient. So madali lang, no? 40 minus 28 over 40, that's gonna be 0.30. So based on these values, sino ang mas mataas? It's gonna be your 0.42. Okay? Since mataas ang change ng ating bicarbonate, so greater than ang change sa ating bicarbonate compared sa ating CO2, kasi yung CO2 0.30 lang, the primary disturbance is your metabolic acidosis. However, kung mas mataas itong sa change in PCO2 compared sa bicarbonate, it's respiratory acidosis. Very simple lang, no? So therefore, our primary disturbance is now metabolic acidosis. Doc, paano mo nalaman yung compensating disturbance? Again, kung ano yung natira sa step 2, yan yung compensating disturbance. So, tingnan natin yung natira. Tingnan yung step 2. Diba yung step 2 natin? Respiratory alkalosis and metabolic acidosis. And na-detect natin yung main problem, naalaman natin yung primary problem is your metabolic acidosis. So, technically, yung natira sa step 2, that's gonna be your compensating disturbance, your respiratory alkalosis. And again, sa lecture ko, diba, nagme-make sense naman, pag metabolic, ano ngang main organ na magko-compensate? It's gonna be your respiratory. Since acidotic yung ating patient, so therefore, to compensate such problem, you need alkalosis, right? So in short, opposite lang ng primary disturbance. Again, yung tip ko, no, you don't have to compute this one. Very simple lang yung tip ko, yung sinabi ko kanina. All you have to do is check step 1. Sa step 1 natin, ano ang step 1 natin? It's acidosis. So therefore, ang primary disturbance natin should be acidosis. So it's your metabolic acidosis. And yung natira is your compensating respiratory alkalosis. Again, check natin ha. Step 1, di ba natin? Acidosis. Tapos pag check natin sa step 2, may dalawang problem tayo. Respiratory alkalosis and metabolic acidosis. So sino ang may acidosis dito? Syempre, itong metabolic acidosis. So therefore, primary problem is metabolic acidosis. Compensating problem is your respiratory alkalosis. Yan yung pinaka tip lang. Very simple tip, okay? If ever mahirapan kayong mag-compute. And again, may limitation ang computation na to. Remember sa case 2 nyo, na kinompute nyo pero negative ang mga values and hindi siya tumutugma sa sagot nyo. Therefore, you should not follow this formula all the time. Pag mga negative values na gani, you should not follow this one. But instead, go to the general rule. Ano nga? Ulit-ulitin, general rule. Kung ano yung step 1, whether acidosis or alkalosis siya, you have to determine yan yung primary problem natin sa step 2. Okay? Acidosis, for example, acidosis sa step 1. Therefore, kung sinong may acidosis sa step 2, siya ang primary problem. Ay yung natira, that's gonna be your compensating disturbance. Very good. Step 4, determine the degree of compensation. So again, non-compensatory, partial compensation, or complete compensation. Again, going back sa ating patient, pH niya is 7.32. So therefore, nandito yung 7.32 sa acidosis natin, it's partial compensation. Evaluate the degree of oxygenation. Of course, you will have to check the PO2 level. Sa patient natin, it's 78%. So therefore, nandito na range ng mild hypoxemia. So therefore, it is mild hypoxemia. And lastly, for our final interpretation, it's based on the degree of compensation, primary disorder, degree of oxygenation. So therefore, it's gonna be partially compensated metabolic acidosis with mild hypoxemia. That is how we are going to interpret our ABG. Actually guys, no, in reality, in clinical settings, ang dami pa talagang gagawin dyan. We still have to compute on the FiO2 para malaman natin kung kailangan ba nating lalagyan ba natin ng prong, nasal prong, face mask, o kailangan bang i-intubate ang patient. But at your level right now, ang very, very important lang is to know the concept and how to interpret. Yun lang talaga ang pinaka-importante. And of course, marami yung mga ABG interpretation, no? Maraming mga complicated cases na makikita nyo sa hospital. May mga cases na it's already a mixed disorder. Meron ka pang metabolic acidosis, may metabolic alkalosis, may respiratory acidosis. So, medyo complicated siya. And the results sa ating ABG will also be complicated. But again, at your level, no, dahan-dahan lang muna tayo. Let's just understand the basic concepts. Pag nalaman na natin yung basic concepts, that's the time na i-level up na natin. So, that's gonna be in your medicine. So, if you go to medicine na, basta alam nyo na yung basic interpretation, it's a lot easier na for you to identify those different na mga complicated na cases. Okay? So, this is our ABG summary. Sa ating case, acidosis, evaluate ventilation, respiratory alkalosis, metabolic process, metabolic acidosis, primary disturbance, metabolic acidosis, compensating, respiratory, compensation partially, oxygenation moderate, this is mild, this is mild. So, partially compensated metabolic acidosis with mild hypoxemia. So, again, diba, yung tip ko, tatandaan lang talaga kung ano yung sa step 1, acidosis. So, therefore, kung sino yung may problem sa ating step 2, kung sinong acidosis sa step 2, siya yung primary problem. So, ito naman ang may acidosis, so metabolic acidosis. So, syempre, siya ang primary disturbance. So, yung compensating natin is yung natira, which is your respiratory alkalosis. But the problem is, pag normal yung pH. Diba? There are cases na nagiging normal yung pH pag it is fully compensated. Now, that's the time that you have to really compute na. Okay? Yung computation na tinuro ko sa inyo. Kasi nga, mahihirapan na kayong mag-determine kung sino kaya dito ang primary and for compensating disorder. Okay? So, ang reference natin for this lecture, we have your Bishop, we have your Henrys, and your Teats Fundamental Clinical Chemistry. Again, I know some of you are still confused in terms of calculation, in terms of concepts. Again, please do not hesitate to PM me anytime. You can really ask me, and I'm very happy that if you will really ask me anything. Okay? I'm more than willing to answer your question. So again, this is gonna be my last lecture video with you guys for this semester. No, grabe, sobrang bilis lang. So, last lecture video for the semester, and I'm very happy na I was able to give lectures sa inyo. And hopefully, guys, I'm just praying that all of you were able to somehow learn something out from my discussion. I'm just praying, no? I am hoping that you really learned from my lecture video. I know, personally, I still have so many things to improve, so many things to change in terms of my strategy and style, but with all honesty, guys, I am really trying my best and my very, very best to give you the best lecture. But of course, no, I'm still young. I'm sorry, young. I mean, I have still so many things to learn, not just by means of reading, but also to learn from you. And with that, I hope na you really had fun with my video lecture. So see you again by hopefully by next semester. Aking tuturuan is still kayo pa rin for your clinical chemistry 2. So I'll just be teaching clinical chemistry 2 for the next semester. And with that, again, I will just grab this opportunity, no, kasi our lecture video for the laboratory is very short lang. I guess this is only 30 to 40 minutes, no. So I will grab this opportunity to somehow share with you my mga experiences in life that maybe you can learn from it. Actually, this is already a pre-recorded video also from my previous lecture video sa mga interns, kasi yung interns, may lecture video din ako sa mga interns dati na sobrang liit lang. So what I did is just share my experiences that maybe you will learn from it. So idadagdag ko lang sa part na to, and hopefully you will listen on that, and hopefully you will learn from my experiences. So thank you everyone, and God bless you. Opportunity to you to maybe share some of my life experiences that maybe out from that life experiences, baka may makuha kayo na life lesson or what. And also, I will just grab this opportunity to educate you with a certain disorder that I've been struggling to for over years, but I was able to cope up with it, and I was able to overcome with such disorder. So during my medical career during my life as a medical student, specifically a medtech student, I was a type of student that I was really a goal-oriented person. I have really a lot of goals. I am very goal-oriented. For me, I believe that I was really competitive at that time. For me, based on my personal view, that I was competitive and I was goal-oriented. Now, I have certain goals. For example, certain subject, dapat ganito scores ko. So, binabawi ko sa quiz and exam. I try to compute kasi nga, I was really goal-oriented, and I was really competitive based on myself during that time. And maybe, lahat naman ng pagod ko has been paid off. Parang, I was able to become a consistent Dean's Lister. I've become a second honor, first honor, second honor, first honor. So I believe it na it's really my hard work na nag-aaral ako and all. And I believe because of I was really at that time goal-oriented kasi nga I had a very good time management with myself even though how hectic our schedule, especially diba during third year, even though how hectic our schedule was, is that parang tinatry ko na hindi ko siya i-cut ang mga time management at specific time. Dapat ganito, nag-aaral ako, tulog ako like around 2 to 3 hours lang. Tapos gising na naman ulit. And every day, even Saturday and Sunday, I was really goal-oriented. So, na-paid off naman ang mga works ko. Like, I was a consistent Dean's Lister and also, I was also helping my friends. I was already parang nag-tutor ako sa mga classmates ko, tinuturuan ko sila and all that stuff. I can still remember, diba? I was actually staying in you know that place sa Santa Ana, yung Nara Street sa may McDo na area, yung in front ng Quartz, may ang dormitory dyan. So, I can remember, ang super dami-dami ng mga friends ko na nagpapaturo sila sa akin ng mga algebra, analchem, natatawa ako kasi nga, ang liit lang ng room ko, tapos ang dami nila, 10 sila, pumapasok, and nagle-lecture ako. It was really fun. For my personal view, I really had fun during my college years as PC. And I believe na lahat ng mga efforts ko, nakita ko naman because I was a consistent lister. However, during the release of result of your, parang, di ba, lumalabas na yung mga result na during graduation day, lalabas na yung result ng honors list. I was not part of the list. And I was so shocked and I was so bitter for myself. As in, I was literally like, bakit ganito? Bakit ganyan? Like, napaka-unfair naman. I work hard for it, pero I was never been recognized. Bakit ganyan? And even like that kind of parang na-shock pa ka, like mga friends mo na sugat kayo, magkita kayo, sabi nila, uy, congrats, blah blah, di ba sure na on Latin honor ka, di ba? Congrats. Kung like, I was not on the list. Pero I was really shocked and I was really bitter at that time. You know what? During my graduation day, I was never been happy. To tell you frankly, I was never been happy. I mean, my friends doesn't know about this one. My teacher doesn't know about it. It's just my feeling na ginashare ko lang sa inyo na I was not really happy during my graduation day. My parents doesn't care if whether ako honor student or not. They will already be proud of me no matter what. So I'm just very thankful sa parents ko na kahit honor student or not, parang blah blah, my honor award, as long as you graduated, happy na sila dun. So they're very thankful. But ako, hindi ko kasi, I'm not a type of person na parang very emotional na. I was not on the list na iyak-iyak ako. Hindi ako iyak, pero I was really bitter and sad deep inside. Parang tinatago ko lang. And during graduation, the parang saddest part kasi is that papasok ka pa lang during sa, di ba, sa SMX Lanang kasi kami nag-graduate dun sa convention. Parang papasok pa lang, like, that kind of feeling na I was never been happy na papasok ako. Parang papasok pa lang, gusto ko nang umuwi. Parang gusto ko na sabihin sa parents ko na pwede din nila ako magpunta because I was so devastated. I was really shocked and I was so sad. Na kasi parang deep inside my heart ba na for 4 years na I've been studying a lot, parang bakit hindi na paid off? Bakit parang hindi ako na-recognize? Parang napaka-unfair naman na parang it was really unfair. Kasi nga, at that time, may mga groups, may mga committee kasi yan na you have to apply for it for the honors list, for the Latin honors. So I did apply for it, lahat ng mga extracurricular activities lagay ko. But at certain points in your extracurricular point, kailangan may ma-reach ka for first year, second year, third year, and fourth year. My problem was that during the second year, third year, and fourth year, I was able to reach a certain extracurricular points. Yan, natanggap ko. Pero sa first year, parang kasi hindi pa ako super active during my first year. I don't know if this applies with you. Parang sa iba na ata sa inyo ngayon. And sa first year ko, I only lacked a certain point para sigurong mga point something lang na I was not able to reach that. So that's why one person of the committee parang said na it should not be part of the list of the honors. It's just one committee. The other members para daw okay. And even the dean, the Dean of MLS at our time, para lang pinaglaban talaga kami na dapat masali. Kasi may mga kasamahan din ako na hindi nasali. So, pinaglaban niya kami daw na dapat nandun kami sa list. And even Ma'am Chassie told me that pinaglaban niya daw ako and all na dapat ganito sa list, bakit hindi sali? And that one person on that committee really don't want me to be part of it because kasi nga, that's a protocol. Hindi ako naka-reach ng certain points sa extracurricular ko during my first year. And my WPA was very good. It's around 92. So supposedly, parang level of magna cum laude and all. But kahit nga ako, kahit cum laude lang or honorable mention, having na ako as long as I've been recognized with all my efforts that I've done. So I was never been happy. So during graduation, parang papasok pa lang ako, that kind of feeling na, gusto ko na umuwi. Parang, was never been happy. I can still recall it right now na I was never been happy. Like, papasok kami with family, katabi ko parents ko, and all like uwi na tayo, blah, blah, blah. And that time, di ba, usually, tinatawag yung mga classmate mo na, cum laude, summa cum laude. Like, I was really bitter at that time. Parang sabi ko pa na, magna cum laude siya, cum laude siya. Parang mas magaling pa man ako dyan. Yeah, I was really bitter at that time. I can feel the evilness inside me. And di ba, usually pag aakyat ka ng stage, di ba, dapat di ba maglalamano ka sa mga head, mga committee, mga admin and all. And I can still recall, kasabay kong mama ko, yung first person na yun, siya yung parang nag-against na mapasok ako. Siya yung first na dapat lalamunuhan because of my bitterness. Because alam ba, anong ginawa ko? Maglalaman na sana ako sa kanya pero skip ko sa kanya. Nag-skip ako sa kanya. So, pahala ka dyan. Ayaw mo sa akin ayaw ko sa iyo. So, nag-skip ako sa kanya. I was so bitter. Na-shock ang mama, bakit hindi mo siya kinaya? Okay na yan, skip lang ta. Skip, then then upo di ako agad. Mabilisan mo. Then, I was so bitter. Yeah, really, I know I was so bitter and evil. Really, and during the ceremony talaga parang that kind of feeling na gusto ko nang umuwi, na I don't parang ayoko makinig. Even though na I have still to be thankful for that, I was been, kasi naka-award pa rin ako ng Clinical Efficiency and Best Thesis Award. Still, I was never, wala akong pake dyan. Parang, ang gusto ko talaga is yung honors list. Gusto ko talaga, yun talagang pinaghirapan ko. Alam ko na dapat deserve ko yun. And all that, blah, 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 blah. I was never been grateful at that time. I was evil. I was bitter. Most importantly, I was so bitter. And then, di ba, pagkatapos ng graduation, dapat uwi na kayo, mag-picture take. Ako, konting picture taking lang with my close friend, at uwi na ako agad. Kasi nga, I just want to go home. I was really disappointed and sad at that time. And luckily, Ma'am Jassy chatted me. One of really my favorite teacher ever, Ma'am Jasmine Pasha. I know you know her. She's very good in parasitology. She's really one of my favorite teacher. And she just told me na, Von, what happened? You know what, Von? You're the dean and me really fought for you na you should be part of the list. However, Von, I believe that you don't have to be recognized at all. I can still remember all the words from Ma'am Jassy na she told me na you don't have to be recognized at all. Why? Because what matters most is that your teacher, your family, your friends, your close friends, your classmates know your abilities, know your skill, know you as a person, and know your worth. That matters most. As long as we know that you did your best, if no one is proud of you, then be proud of yourself. What matters most is the strength of your character. And will never ever forget Ma'am Jassy with all that kind words. And I just realized I was really bitter at that time. Again, you don't have to be recognized all the time. All you have to do is just do your best. Just do your best. And if no one is being proud of you, then be proud of yourself. As again, strength of your character matters most. What matters most is the strength of your character. And the main reason that I really wanted to have a good grades at that time, because I really wanted to go into medicine. So during my career as a medtech student, alam ko na magme-medicine talaga ako. Alam ko magdo-doctor. Gusto ko talaga maging doctor. Even though I really wanted to be part of an academe, so that's my ultimate goal. But still, gusto ko matapos na, gusto ko talaga maging doctor. So that's the goal. So, yan yung main goal ko. So that's why I work hard and I was really competitive. I was really goal-oriented at the time. That's why I work hard for it. And because I really wanted to have that kind of Latin honor so that I could get scholarship for my med school for my med school, because I know that med school, it's gonna be very expensive. And one way for me to help my parents also is by getting that by getting that scholarship. I have to have a good grades, and but mas easier kasi pag may Latin honor ka, mas madali sa iyo makapasok and all. So at that time, kaya nga ginagalingan ko at that time, pero wala eh. Wala. So may mga balakid na sa problema ko, kinakabahan ako na sa shit, parang mahihirapan, so I have to apply again, parang kailangan ko talagang galingan pa. And then kasi nga, even though my parents were supportive at that time, na they will support me with my medical school career, even kahit saan ako mag-med school, they will fight for it, or kahit kakayanin daw nila talaga, blah blah blah. Pero ako, deep inside, I want to help my parents also. So one way of helping, since kung makakapag-medicine man din ako na libre, so why not go for it? And my ultimate goal was that I really wanted to go to West V. So West V is a state university in Iloilo, and I believe that it's have a good quality education, plus the tuition fee is konti lang. It's around 20,000 pesos. Kasi nga, once makapasok ka, automatically you are already a scholar. So that's my ultimate goal, and it's hard to para makapasok, mahirap makapasok doon kasi nga it's a competition. You have a good grades, dapat good grades. So plus factor na kayo na if you have a Latin honor, plus good NMAT and good interview. So okay, feeling ko may laban ako sa interview. Pero ang problema ko is yung wala na akong Latin honor, so wala na akong panglaban. So next, NMAT. So gagalingan ko sa NMAT. So again, NMAT na. So magte-take na naman ako ng NMAT. During my NMAT time, I was very confident. I was so confident with myself na hindi na ako mag-aaral. Feeling ko kasi matalino naman ako. Feeling ko kaya ko naman kasi nga sabi nila na it's just like a parang pang high school lang na blah blah blah, just review. Hindi ko na kailangan. Sige, okay lang, parang siguro naalala ko pa man yung mga basic and all that stuff. So ang ginawa ko, nag-take na ako ng NMAT without reviewing. Confident. I was so confident at that time. So guys, lo and behold, my NMAT score was very low. My score was only below 40. Imagine that. It's only line of 3. Imagine that. Again, I was so confident. Again, like, oh my God, another balakid, another problema. Or kung sa pangarap ko na West V, ang NMAT score na gusto nila doon is 90 plus, 99, 98, 97. And my score is only line of 3. So again, I was disappointed with myself. Another disappointment with myself. 2 strikes. Wala na akong Latin honor. So in short, if mag-a-apply ako for scholarship, medyo hindi pa sure. Pangalawa, NMAT is also basihan for scholarship. My score is only line of 3. Hindi nga ako makakapasok sa DMSF, hindi nga ako makakapasok sa mga dream school ko. Kahit anong school, hindi ako makakapasok. NMAT score, mababa. I was so disappointed. Parang plan ko na med school, and also I changed my plan. I believe na wala, dili siya pwede. Hindi ako ready, hindi ako prepared. So what happens is that I work as a medtech sa Digos Doc muna ako. Nag-medtech na muna ako, and then I was given the opportunity by Ma'am Jasmine. He asked me if I could be part of the academe. So I grabbed the opportunity and teach also. And then kaya nga before ako nagpasok ng medicine, nagtuturo na ako ng clinical chemistry at that time. So nagtuturo ako at that time. So parang I thought na parang wala na, tapos na, parang it was my plan, kahit na how many years na pinagplanuhan ko na during medtech student pa ako, it becomes parang nalapo, wala lahat. Kasi nga, wala nang Latin honor, and NMAT score, ang baba ko pa, parang walang med school na magtatanggap sa akin. So still, during that time, natuturo ako, and then nag-work ako as a medtech student. But still, my drive to still apply na, try pa rin, no matter what. Sige, go for it na lang. Go for it, try pa rin. Wala man din mawawala if I still reapply sa NMAT. Excuse me. Sa NMAT score, sa NMAT naman, wala naman yung pass or fail. It's just a matter of percentile rank. So nirarank lang kayo overall sa number of takers. So anong ginawa ko is that I retake again for the NMAT during November at that time. Tapos nagtuturo ako. So ang ginagawa ko, tapos nag-medtech ako, so I make sure, again, binalik ko na naman sarili ko sa pagiging time management na naman tayo, kailangan natin 'to. So, nag-aaral ako and all. Nagbibigay ako ng specific time 'pag Sunday, may time man na off ako. So 'yan, aral, aral, aral. So nagse-self-study ako and I was really motivated na kailangan gagalingan ko na 'to. Maybe this is might be my last opportunity. So, ang ginawa ko, nag-aral ako ng mabuti and then luckily during that November exam, I was able to get a very good score. I was able to get a 90 plus, 90 above na score and that's a very good thing na parang, ay salamat, thank you Lord. So, nawala na pagiging confident ko, nag-aral ako ng mabuti, parang last chance, give the best shot that I can. So, at that time na during the end part na ng pagtuturo ko, so nire-ready ko na mga application ko and also my first really na gusto kong i-applyan is really the Westv kasi nga mababa ang tuition fee, it's only 20,000 per sem and di ba mas mahal pa sa SPC na as medtech, like around 30 to 40,000 plus SPC. So pag medicine na 20,000 lang, di ba mas mura pa. So in short, so I applied, kaya nga gusto ko talaga sa Westv. So I did apply sa Westv at that time. So tapos na ako sa SPC, in-end ko ng hindi na ako nag part-time kasi nga nag-apply na ako ng med school. So may 3 choices ako ng med school. First choice ko talaga is West Visayas. Then kasi nga libre and all that stuff and scholar ka. Second is CIM kasi nga kung magdi-DMSF ako, almost mas mababa kasi ang CIM. So mag-try muna ako ng CIM. If hindi ako tanggapin doon, then I'll go for the MSF. I know the MSF is a very good school. It's just that it's very expensive. It's around 100,000 and all, pero ang facilities nila, it's very good. So if you were planning to if you have financial status, okay man financial, then you can go for the MSF. The MSF is top performing school, so go for it. So, but at that time, I believe that even though my parents are very supportive, alam ko siguro mahihirapan sila, pero somehow, so that's why I really wanted na sana makakuha ako ng scholarship. So that's my 3 priorities schools. So first, I apply sa Westv. So punta na ako actually. May mga friends kami, may makasama ako ng mga classmates and also nag-apply kami sa Westv. So when I applied there, during my interview, I was very scared. Even though I am somehow confident naman ako na in terms of interview, I love talking, I love sharing, pero deep inside good, makulbaan, good gyapon ka. That's normal. So feeling ko, may laban naman ako. Again, nandito naman tayo sa pagiging confident. Ito talaga problema ko. And then at that time, for the interview, kasi nga, ang interview is that you are in a parang long table, tapos may mga 6 to 10 doctors dyan, nakaupo sila lahat, tapos per batch kayo papasok, siguro mga around 3 to 5 students na papasok. Pasok kayo 5 students and then may kaharap kayo na mga doctors na 10 sila. So, ang magiging system is that they will just ask you randomly. So, kayo isa-isa, kahit sino pwede tanong. So, it's very scary, right? Kasi nga, maririnig ka ng mga co-interviewin mo na anong sinasagot mo, anong blah blah blah, baka ma-judge ka nila. And also ang daming doctor, 10 sila, lahat may psychiatrist, may pediatrician, may surgeon and all that stuff, and they can ask you anything, any question under the sun. And sad to say, we have a very poor, aming batch had a very poor performance interview kasi nga there was once one doctor that asked about a certain parang may tinanong siya about sa news si Lee Kuan Yew, which is the Prime Minister sa Singapore. And at that time, I don't know him kasi nga wala na akong time kanina manood ng news. And he asked, who is this person? And sa aming batch, wala nakakaalam. And at that time, the doctor told us na I was really disappointed with your batch. Kaming 5 kami ng mga batch, 5 students kami. Then sabi niya, I was really disappointed with your batch. Can say that baka walang matatanggap sa inyo. That time, I feel sad again, like, ay Lord naman, Lord, okay na akong NMAT, parang sige, fine, dili gini para sa kuha. So, alis na kami and all. So, ginawa ko, plan B, sige, di tama wadag pag-asa. Still, really wanted to become a doctor, no matter what, magiging doctor ako. So, plan B ko is apply against CIM kasi nga, sabihan ko parents ko, I was not feeling ko hindi ako matatanggap, blah blah blah. I mean, ginawa ko ang best ko pero parang hindi ako matatanggap. So, my parents told me, sige, what is your plan? And then, sige, plan ko is try ko muna sa CIM. If hindi ako matanggap CIM, then balik ako sa Davao, DMSF ako mag-school. So, try ako CIM. And then at that time, sa AM, it's just a simple one-on-one interview, pero it took us around almost 2 hours. And I can still remember that person, he was a pediatrician daw. And sabi niya, kinuha lang daw siya ng CAM para daw mag-interview. As far as I remember, parang yan sabi niya sa akin. And it took us about parang 2 hours. And then sabi nila, during the interview daw, dapat usually sinasabihan ka na automatically after the end of the interview, dapat sabihan ka na if you are accepted or not. And at that time, again, hindi ako sinabihan. Sabi niya sa akin, sige, tawagan ka lang namin if you are accepted or not. Yun yung sabi niya. Pero I have friends na nag-apply ng CIM, but automatically sinasabi na sa, you're already accepted or what, blah, blah, blah. So, at my time, wala. So, from Cebu, balik ako sa Davao, balik ako sa Digos. Ito, mga parang wala na good chance ani. You know, saan naman yun? Like, wala, Jod. Like, I was very disappointed again with myself. Na parang, I was questioning myself na, magiging doktor pa baka ako na like, gibuhat naman ako tanan akong best and all, blah, 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 blah. Pero, siguro dyan para sa ako. So, dawat na gid na ako na, di ko sa West, sa CM, so ako mapas, DMSF na gid ko, sure na ako mag-apply na po ko sa DMSF. Pero, yan ang tuition pa ha. I always tell them na this is gonna be our possible expenses, blah, blah, blah. I have to buy books, I have to stay in a dorm. My parents are just very supportive. I know baka mahihirapan sila, but they are very so, yes, kaya namin, blah, 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 etc., etc., etc. So already planned ano tawag ito, I planned already to apply for the MSF for the following weeks. But guys, I was really, really shocked because may tumawag randomly sa phone ko, and I received the call, and it was from West V, and then sabi nila, I was accepted daw, and I was really shocked. I thought I was never been accepted. Like, tanggap ko na gyud na dili ko ma-accept and all. I was very, very happy. Like, it was out of nowhere na kanang yung mga kind of happiness na that are very unexpected, na despite na feeling mo wala na, but still there was a chance, parang light na gihatag sa imo. Like, wow, I was really happy at that time. And then after that call sa West V, bigla tumawag din ang CAM na I was also accepted in CAM. So parang yung salamat naman, nag-paid off akong effort and all. Parang like, parang feeling ko na, wala na, tapos na ang mga ipangbuhat na ako. Di siya nag-pay, wala pay sa imong mga effort and all. Pero at that time, when I received the call from the 2 schools, I said na, I'll go for it. I'll go for Iloilo. I'll work hard for it. Actually, my parents are very hesitant about it. Also na sa mag-med school ako sa Iloilo because first and foremost, it's very far. And I don't have any friends. I don't know anyone. May mga up-class ako, yung valedictorian namin during sa SPC MedDec. Second year na sila doon, so may 3 akong classmate doon. But still, it's a different thing kasi nga, up-class na sila. Ako first year pa rin, and ako lang mag-isa. Even though yung mga kasamahan ko kasi na nag-apply, they were not able to, hindi sila na-accept. So, I was very lucky na I was accepted. And my parents are quite hesitant kasi nga ako lang mag-isa, and you know what, madali lang ako masakit, and year in hospital ako and also, pero I still gamble for it kasi nga I know na I really wanted for it. I was really determined about it. So, grab ko opportunity no matter what. And luckily at that time also, di ba, parang tinanggal yung scholarship. So, you don't have to pay anything na. Usually, the tuition fee is around 20,000. But because parang nabago yung administration, tinanggal na nila, wala nang tuition fee, we don't have to pay anything at all. So I'll go for it and work hard for it. So my 4 years in Iloilo was very happy. I mean, it was never been easy. Medicine, guys swear, medicine will never be easy. If you feel like medtech is already tiring, how much more when you go into medicine. I can still recall during my medtech sa histo, my teacher was Dr. Bandalan. He was actually our dean at that time. And she told us na, so during sa histo lec namin, she told us na, kasi nga nagre-reklamo na kami na pagod na kami, Dok, marami pa kaming quiz and all, blah, blah, Dok, quiz pa kami doon. She told us na, gikapoy na ka mo, saan na lang ka mag-medicine mo? And yung kakapoy sa medtech is only 1/4 or 1/2, wala na ka 1/4, wala na ka 1/2 sa kakapoy sa medicine. And I was just like, exaggerate, kasi nga, feeling ko, kapoy na dyan kaya itong medtech, feeling na ko, wala na yung, or superlative na ginawa, wala na dyan laing ikakapoy ito mo, na gito ang kakapoy. But guys, to tell you frankly, it's gonna be hard. when you go to medicine, hindi ay yung talino ang magsusupport sa inyo. It's your determination at all. If you are determined, it's not about being genius. It's not about being intelligent when you go to medicine. It's always about how passionate and determined you are to finish the 4-year medicine career. Yun lang talaga, determination. Dili yun na siya pabrightay. Medicine was never been pabrightay. Was never been na kailangan genius ka. No, I'm not genius. Hindi ako bright. Pero I am determined. I am really wanted to finish my medicine career. So my 4-year, very struggle kasi ako na mag-isa. Pero because I have some friends na determined also to finish it, that I was able to graduate. And you know what? The kind of graduation na I had during that time versus during sa nag-graduate ko, it's very different. At this time, no, I was so free of that kind of evilness and bitterness that I felt before. That kind na, you know what? I have no awards. I have not been recognized. I'm just a typical student. But you know what? The kind of happiness that I was walking in the aisle during my graduation sa medicine is very different during my SBC. The bitterness there versus the happiness that I've been to. I was really happy kasi nga, it feels like na all my struggle, all the challenges that I've been to, parang na-pay off jud siya, guys. It's gonna be worth it. I know na feel niyo karon na kapoy mo na wala na siya patunguhan, but to tell you frankly, it will pay off. Just wait for the right time. Sa akin nga, hindi ko na ina-expect na ganito, but just believe in Him. Meron at meron kayong kakalagyan. Just wait for the right time. For me, it's just perfect timing eh. Perfect timing. So, during graduation, so okay na, I was very happy, and my parents, happiest part, I can say that was really my happiest part of life. So I decided to go back again to Davao for my internship sa SPMC, SPGI, and then we planned for my classmates na kami lahat, doon kami sa SPMC kasi nga it's a government institution, and we really wanted to serve. But sad to say, they were not able, was not accepted there. Tapos more of lahat ng mga friends ko nasa private institutions, so ako na natira sa SPMC. So when I was in SPMC, ay akala ko na smooth sailing na lahat, parang naka-align na sa plano ko, okay na, like wala na, parang ito na Von, parang sakto na, parang okay na ata lahat, parang may struggle, okay na. So go back to SPMC, nag-internship na ako. Ay nako. Again, this is one way of educating you. I was actually diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder. So I have OCD, and it becomes worsened during my internship sa SPMC. Kasi nga I was also all alone and all. So obsessive compulsive disorder, I was actually struggling with OCD during my medtech student. Pati yung medtech student pa ako sa SPC, pero I was not able to recognize that. Pero it was already started during at that time, and then it worsened during my college my med student sa Iloilo during for 4 years, parang up siya, and I already tried to consult my psychiatrist there in Iloilo, and then already started on medication. Excuse me. But when I'm already in SPMC, excuse me, sorry, it really worsened. So I had OCD. So OCD is an obsessive compulsive disorder. So I know some of you are familiar with this one. So I know that you are familiar with yung mga, oy, OC ka no, OC, very arranged of things. Oy, OC kay ka, OC. It's a different thing. Yung kind of pagiging OC na, gusto mo malinis yung gamit mo and blah, blah, blah. That's an obsessive compulsive personality, OC personality, and it's a different with an OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. When it's already a disorder, meaning it already affects ay mga daily mga activities mo in life. So pag maka-affect na siya sa daily activities mo in life, then that becomes a disorder. So I have an obsessive compulsive disorder. Obsessive meaning you are thinking of thoughts that repeated thoughts na inuulit mo sa mind mo, na feeling mo may something na mangyari or what, versus ang compulsion is that there is also a repeated action. To satisfy that obsessive thoughts, you have to repeatedly do the action. So obsessive compulsive disorder, kaya nga paulit-ulit siya. So iba-iba ang OCD, di ba? May mga OCD tayo na sa safe, may mga OCD tayo na, alam niyo yung mga person na si hugas ng kanilang hand washing na paulit-ulit silang lilinis ang kamay nila, then every time may matouch nila, linis hugas agad, and that's a type of obsessive, cleanliness na obsessive compulsive na disorder. And then, di ba nakikita nyo sila na medyo sugatan na ilang hands kasi nga they cannot control it anymore. Obsessive compulsive, ang obsession nila, feeling nila, madumi ang kamay nila, magkakasakit sila. So, as a compulsive disorder nila is that they have to repeatedly do the action of cleaning their hands. So, it will take them several times to wash their hands. May mga something pattern sila. And my OCD is also a different thing. It's a obsessive compulsive disorder na safety type. So, ang safety na pinagsasabi ko is that before I leave my room, I have to count. May mga rituals kasi kami, pag OCD ka, may mga rituals kami na iba-iba kami mga rituals, may certain patterns kami na ginakount. Ako pag sinasabing obsessive compulsive disorder na safety type is that before I leave my room, I have to count. Kina-count ko yung mga, if na-unplug ko na ang mga appliances na ginagamit ko, yung plancha, feeling ko baka ginamit ko, dapat i-feel ko muna kahit alam kong hindi siya ginagamit, kahit hindi siya mainit, alam kong hindi siya ginamit. I have to feel it na dapat malamig siya, hindi siya mainit, kasi nga ang obsession ko is that safety, meaning to say na baka pag alis ko masunog ang kwarto, pag alis ko baka may pumasok, pag alis ko baka bukas ang ilaw or what, pag alis ko open ang gripo. So ang ginagawa ko guys, on off ang gripo, on off ang light for how many times, tapos kinakount ko yung mga plugs, yung mga saksakan. Ang counting ko is 1 2 3, that's my normal counting. So 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. You may see this as normal, di ba? It's actually normal to see that as normal. Before you leave, kakount mo, blah, blah, blah. I guess that's normal. Pero if you do that for several times, then that's a abnormal one. Kasi ako, before, sa SPC pa lang ako, ang counting ko, kinakount ko na, pero it will only take me around 20 times. Yeah, kahit 20 times, parang hindi naman yun normal, di ba? Pero for me, that's already okay, at least 20 times lang. Pero when I'm already in SPMC, it took me several times to count. Like, imagine that I have to consume 2 hours of my time. Meaning, I have to consume the 2 hours. Ang ginagawa ko for 2 hours before ako makapag-duty, before ako makaalis ng kwarto, is simply counting. I just have to 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So, ginakount ko lang. Pinak-check ko ang naka-unplug. Yung window, feel ko if na-close ko ba ang window. Yung gripo, on and off. And you know what? My landlady was already suko na kay ang landlady. Kasi nga, nasisira na yung hawakan ng gripo. Kasi nga, inuulit-ulit ko na on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off. Pati lights, on, off, on, off, on, off. And imagine that, guys. Small lang man ang kwarto ko, but I am doing that for 2 hours. Can you imagine na I'm just sitting, standing, counting 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Tapos, yung plancha, kahit hindi ginamit, ginatouch ko, yung ref, alam kong close yung ref, close, open, for several times, close, open, and then repeatedly, imagine for 2 hours. Hindi lang siya 2 hours in a day, ha? Every time I went out, before I sleep, before I go, kahit nga, may times nga, like, I have to go out for my room because I want to eat. May times na ayaw ko na lang kumain kasi nga, kahit alam kong nasa baba lang ang kainan, hindi ko magawa. Imagine that, kahit alam ko na nasa taas lang yung kwarto ko, hindi ko magawa kasi nga, it will take me for 2 hours. And amazing siya guys, kasi nga, kahit hindi ako tumingin ng oras, I always count. I always count for 2 hours. Exactly, tapos ako for 2 hours. Alam ko na, it's already 2 hours. Parang nasatisfy ko na yung obsession ko na, baka may mangyari or what. So, ginagawa repeatedly ko. So, parang it's already too much. It's already been, I was already taking meds, but my meds were not enough already. So, ang nangyari, during my SPMC internship, nagkaroon ako ng OCD, naging harsh, naging almost 2 hours before ako malis. Tapos, ang nangyari is that I was not able to control it anymore, to the point na even though I was able to do my rituals for 2 hours, I can still go out. Hindi ko makontrol ang self ko na I still repeatedly do counting 1, 2, 3, on and off, on light, blah, blah, blah. I'll still do that for more than 3 hours, more than 4 hours, 5 hours, hindi ako nakakalabas. And that kind of feeling na kahit lalabas ako, there will be anxiety kasi nga OCD is under anxiety disorder. So, will still be discomfort, hindi ako makakapag-duty na maayos. So, in short, hindi ako makakaalis. So, nangyari is that for how many days nagkulong ako sa kwarto and nagkaroon ako ng MDD. So, naging ang OCD ko, on top of my OCD, meron na akong ng major depressive disorder. Nagkaroon ako ng depression. So, for several days, I have no communication sa hospital. Nag-awol ako. They were very shocked kung anong nangyari ako. Even my friends, they tried to call me. I cannot call them because I cannot control myself anymore. I'm just counting anything. And I was also depressed and very sad. Iyak lang ako ng iyak kasi nga I was not able to control myself. Even my parents were very shocked kung ano nangyari sa akin. So for several days, I was just inside my room, lock ang door, close ang light, and I was not eating at all. For several days, it was several days, and luckily, buti na lang talaga my parents went to my dorm, to my apartment, and then nakita nila daw ako doon na wala na akong malay and all that stuff because of na I was really weak at that time. So dinala nila ako sa psychiatrist ko, and we started for my psychotherapy. And you know what? For 3 months na nag-absent ako and all, tanggap ko na sa sarili ko na I will not be able to graduate on time. Kasi nga, you have to comply with the PGI-ship before you can take the board exam. So, for 3 months, I was absent. So, 3 months, i-comply ko pa. So, in short, I will be delayed. So, ako, technically, sabi ko sa parents ko, I will be delayed. Yan yung sitwasyon na ako, blah, 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 blah. And they just told me na, it doesn't matter whether you become a doctor or not. What matters most is your health for now. Yan mo lang isipin mo. So, sige, tanggap ko na, ma'am. And blah. So, this happens before the pandemic era. So, after that, bumalik na ako for 3 months. Nag-undergo ako ng psychotherapy. Nag-undergo yung mga medication ko. Pina-increase ni doc. I was on escitalopram. Your escitalopram is your SSRI, which is an antidepressant. And also, I was given quetiapine. I was actually hesitant at that time, in denial at that time na I don't want quetiapine because quetiapine is an antipsychotic. And I told doctor na, Doc, hindi ako value, Doc. Bakit mo ako binibigyan ng antipsychotic? I was really in denial, di ba? May stages tayo ng ganyan. So, dabda. So, I was really in denial at that time. And then doctor told me na, you're a doctor, you know that these drugs is not only for antipsychosis, but these drugs can also be used for other symptoms. Doc explained it well for me, and then at that time, at least inaccept ko. So I was already taking for quetiapine. So right now, I am for so long, I was not able to take any medications na. Doc already stopped my medication because I was really compliant with my medication. So that's why, guys, if you really need help, one thing na nakatulong talaga sa akin is really seek consult. That's the best thing that you can do. Seek consult because these people know how to manage you well. They can really listen with any problem. Kasi, I mean, si Doc, very supportive lang siya. Listen. I had undergo psychotherapy and was given proper medication. Ito talaga importante, guys. They could communicate with you well. You can talk with them well anytime. And you will be given proper medication. And also, I was being introduced with a support group of people who have OCD. And I was very happy to know them kasi nga, nare-realize ko na mas lala pa nga yung mga OCD nila. Pero I was very happy because that's one way for me to know that you're not special, you're not alone. You have people there are people that are experiencing this thing. That's why this is one way for me to educate you guys. Maybe you have friends, your family, your loved ones who have OCD, and maybe one way to help them is just tell them to seek consult because there will be proper management for that. Seek consult and there will be support system. So, you know what, guys? I was still amazed na despite na feel ko madidelay ako because during the pandemic times, diba, na-stop na ang pandemic times, ay nagkaroon na ng pandemic. So, nakabalik ako sa duty, my friends were very happy to see me again. Pero, ang nangyari is that, makabalik na ako, so ang plan ko is to double time para yung mga absent ko ng mga duties, at least makover ko agad-agad. So, konti na lang mga bayaran ko. But because of the pandemic, I was not able to do that. But, the coordinator told me na I don't have to pay for that 2 to 3 months, but I just have to do some paperworks and all. You know what? No? By God's grace, by mga unexpected surprises, I was able to graduate on time. It was really amazing. na despite all of those challenges, guys, remember this, despite all of these challenges, there will always be things na mga unexpected surprises. You will really be paid off for the efforts that you made. I mean, tingnan nyo, like, ako, tanggap po na hindi ako makagraduate on time, tanggap po na hindi ako maka-board exam, but because of something else na parang mga unexpected things na could happen with you, mga better plans with you, guys, I was able to graduate on time. I was able to take the board exam on time. And right now, I am teaching with you. And it's very amazing na how life, you may be struggling right now. You feel na wala dyan na patunguhan na feeling yung gikapoy na gid mo. I know, it's okay. It's okay to feel that you're tired. Tao naman tayo. Pati ako ginakapoy man gani ako. So it's normal. Pero guys, trust me. Yan yung pinaulit na ginasabi nila na it's gonna be worth it. Trust me. It's gonna be worth it. And there will always be perfect timing for everything. Remember that, perfect timing for everything. Kahit ako, remember, kahit ako, ginaplan ko ng self ko, but the Lord's plan is better than mine, and everything will have a perfect timing. Just remember that. And I hope, guys, with this, guys, with my experiences, sorry, it's already almost 42 minutes, I'm very sorry. Pero thank you so much. I hope na you learn something out from my experiences. It's okay to forget my lesson. Ako, it's okay. Kung wala kayong na-learn sa lesson ko, it's okay. Kasi nga, during the board exam, you will remember that and you will have a recall. Maalala nyo na lahat during the review times. It's okay, maalala nyo yan. But for me, what matters most is that you learn something from my life experiences. You learn something from my mga things na ginain ko sa inyo. That's the thing that matters most. So guys, I guess tama na ito. It's already 42 minutes. So sobrang napataas. Sorry good guys. Pero thank you so much. I really had fun even though hindi tayo face-to-face, even though it's only asynchronous. I am very lucky. I am very lucky and blessed that I was been part of your medtech student career. Again, I will be praying for you no matter what.